All right. So, would you like to build a 7 or 8 figure business? Well, my guest today has actually done both at the same time. We're talking about multiple businesses, e-commerce businesses doing 7+ figures, even into the 8 figure range on one of them. So super excited about this conversation. If you find this to be helpful, please consider liking this video as well as subscribing to this channel so we can let you know when more great content becomes available. So thank you very much, and let's go ahead and take it into the interview. All right. So I'm excited to have someone on today who I've gotten to know pretty well in a mastermind group. And this is someone who is, I guess you could say, is a multiple 7 figure seller, or even an 8 figure seller. But it's like the word multiple is a little different because he actually has multiple 7 figure plus brands, one even 8 figure that he's involved in. So very excited to have with me my friend, Adam Runquist. Adam, thanks for coming on today.
Kev, thanks for having me, man. Excited to be here.
Yeah. So you and I are in a mastermind together, and
Yep.
I've gotten to know you, and I'm like, this guy really knows his stuff. So it'd be fun just to come on and have a conversation. And sometimes the conversations we have around e-commerce, and we just hit the record button and allow other people to benefit from it, can be a lot of fun. So I'm excited to get into it. So just to help people understand your background, tell us how you even got into the world of e-commerce.
Cool. Well, I'll maybe give you like the 5 minute spiel, and
Sure.
we'll kind of take a break, and we can kind of go from there. But
Uh-huh.
I guess traditionally I'm kind of a corporate guy traditionally, so I can't come from Canada originally. I moved down to Texas shortly after college, so I was kind of in the energy vertical for a long time. So in the U.S., there's basically 13 states that are deregulated with energy. So I was kind of an electricity guy. That was kind of my world. Spent almost a decade into that space. Started getting involved in my later years there in M&A. So we were basically buying small electricity brands, kind of folding them into the mothership and then repurposing them. So I kind of always had that going on, and I was always doing some side hustle stuff. I've
Mhm.
always kind of had a foot in the entrepreneurial bucket. So I had a Shopify store. Gosh, I think it was like 2008. So like this is like
Oh, wow. That's
early
pretty
days
early on.
like
Yeah.
early days Shopify. So being a good Canadian kid, I had literally a hockey apparel brand that I launched
Oh,
on
nice.
Shopify. So I think it wasn't like anything to write home to mom about, but I was doing, I don't know, I think it was like 30 grand a year, packing my own orders out of my house. So it was
Nice.
before 3PLs and all the fancy
Right.
software and all that, before even Facebook ads and stuff. So I always kind of had stuff going on the side. So I was familiar with that universe. And then, my career had started to kind of step up. I was becoming kind of director level at some Fortune 300 companies, and was in the M&A world. So we were basically buying electricity companies. At the time when we started to kind of dig into things around, I want to say like 2012, 2013 area, we started to look at like, hey, no one likes to get an electricity bill. It's like,
Right.
no one's pumped about that. It's like, okay, thanks a lot. My lights work, but there's
Right.
no affinity to that exchange.
Right.
So this is right around when Nest thermostats came out. So the guy that invented or was kind of the designer around the iPod spun off a company called Nest. They did the smart thermostat, and we basically kind of bundled an electricity plan with the Nest thermostat, and it
Mm.
was just like insanely popular. Like people, like our enrollment rates were insane, and like retention rates were insane. So it was like, okay, finally somebody cares about us. Like
Right.
I've got something to physically sell. So we kind of went on a tour to like find physical products brands that made sense to potentially build and or buy. So I was involved with kind of building one, and kind of ran a division that was kind of portable power oriented. And then we ultimately ended up buying a physical products brand out of Utah, which is now where I live. So I spent better part of a decade in Houston. So I had a total backdoor into Amazon, frankly. Like I had these like, tinglings of e-commerce experience that I always had side hustles going on. And then I had this more traditional business experience. And it all kind of came to a head when we acquired this company out of Utah. And I basically got tapped on the shoulder to move out here and kind of help run it and take it to the next level. For anyone that's done an acquisition before, it's you're paying for a growth case, right? Like you've
Hmm.
got a expectation of what the future holds, and it's
Right.
typically going to be making more money than when you bought it is the
Hmm.
goal. So that first 6 months was really about like turning over all the rocks, right? So you're looking at
Mm.
operational efficiencies, where can I save money? Well, one of the ones that I started to really hone into was Amazon. So again, this was 3.5 years ago or so, maybe 4 years ago. So it was really starting to pick up steam. People were really starting to get Prime accounts in the US, and it was becoming a thing, and it was undeniable what was happening with Amazon. So we started looking at that channel. At the time it was doing, when we acquired, I think it was doing like 2 or 3 million a year. So it was predominantly a retail business, omni-channel. It was kind of an afterthought, like Amazon was an afterthought. It was also set up as a 1P. So for folks that don't know 1P versus 3P Amazon, 1P is basically like traditional retail relationships. Amazon sends you a PO, usually on a weekly basis. They place an order much like a retailer would. They manage the inventory. They figure out when to order. You really don't do much with the ASIN. It just kind of sits there. You don't advertise on it.
Right. So basically Amazon is buying the product from you and they're selling it themselves as opposed to you selling it on Amazon's platform.
100%. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So you basically, if you're in a 1P relationship, and it's traditionally bigger brands, right? That just like, hey, look, I don't have time to think about Amazon. I don't like know about it. Like I'll just sell it to Amazon. So it was set up that way, and basically doing 2-3 million a year, kind of standalone. Well, as I dug into the mechanics of it, because again, it was a growing channel, we expected it to be more. I was like, holy crap, we could double the margins on this thing. Like, assuming that we sell the exact same amount that we have been selling, which I don't think was the case because obviously it was a rocket ship. Amazon was kind of growing significantly. We could double the margins of this thing. So it was a significant opportunity, but the problem is like, okay, well, when you flip from 1P to 3P, number one, you have to kind of navigate the breakup with Amazon. At the time, there was kind of like warring factions within Amazon. If you're dealing with the 1P side, they didn't like the 3P people. The 1P people didn't want you to leave and go to 3P. So we had to navigate that, but you had to figure out Amazon. So that took me down the deep, amazing, awesome rabbit hole that is Amazon FBA and understanding what it took to kind of sell 3P. So long story short, that business now, that channel of the business does it'll do over 10 million this year on Amazon. So
nice.
We've kind of tripled the top line of that, as well as kind of doubled the margins. So it was a pretty massive win on kind of making that acquisition awesome. And then during that process, I was like, you know what, I kind of had that entrepreneurial itch, and I've always had that, like, what's next for me. And I discovered the Amazon opportunity. I'm like, well, let's see if I can do a couple of these on my own. So I've since built, there's 2 that are 7 figures. There's one that I just launched in December that is doing, I think it's doing about 40 grand a month now, with a bunch of products in the queue. And then I've got my 4th, which will probably be my last for a while. My 4th one that we'll launch here probably in the next 3 or 4 months across different categories. So yeah, I got bit by the Amazon bug, and that's my story.
Wow, that's a lot to unpack there. I'm sure that probably one of the first questions that the listeners and viewers are wondering is, how on earth do you have time to run, not just be involved in an 8-figure brand, run 2 7 figures on your own, add another one recently, and then now say, I'm going to add another brand. How do you manage that?
So I think, I guess I'm a bit of a sadist, I guess you could say. I mean, you gotta love this stuff. I mean, I would just start by saying I love it. Like I spend my waking moments thinking about it because I find it really fun and really rewarding. And once you start getting tinglings of success on Amazon too, and you're like flipping the app open in the morning, that's a pretty good motivator too, when you start to see the effort materialize in terms of like tangible success. So I think that part of it fuels it, and that's a motivator. And I just really enjoy it. Part of it, I would also just say too, is it's a difficult business. I don't want to say it's easy, but it's also like, if you do a couple things right, and it's definitely not passive, but it's certainly scalable. So I think part of it, I've built out some team structure on some of the ones I own myself. And it's really kind of like, it's heavy amounts of work in bursts. So especially when I'm doing launches or kind of figuring out what's next in terms of product road mapping, that's effort and takes a decent amount of time. But once you kind of put that hard effort into a launch and kind of get things right, it really becomes maintenance mode after that. So I'd say it's certainly scalable. And then on the last 2 brands, I've got some partnerships. So I've got a couple folks that on those last 2 that I'm not going to be the sole kind of person running everything. So that helps scale things a little bit.
Gotcha. So you have a little help there. Okay. So
yeah.
Let's dive a little bit into maybe your team structure, and then from there maybe have a conversation about launches? So I know those are both
Sure.
questions people tend to have. So so when you have a team, so where where is Adam's time spent versus where your team is spent?
Yeah, that's a good point. And I'll maybe focus on kind of the ones that I started solo, because the other organization's like fairly complex.
Sure.
First of all, I think what's cool about the Amazon platform is the brand could change, the products can change, where you source them can even change, but like the fundamental mechanics of the business are pretty
Uh-huh.
similar across the board. And so I've got a model where I basically plug the team in across the brands, and you can kind of leverage them and scale them across brands. So that's definitely my approach.
Hmm.
So I've got a couple folks in Asia that help me out, basically with a lot of logistics, sourcing,
Mm.
managing factories.
Hmm.
I mean, logistics is a big thing once you start moving decent volume, because there's just always orders that you got to kind of manage. They also help with demand planning, like what do we need to
Hmm.
buy when, and kind of manage that side. I use some contract folks in the Philippines to help with marketing, social media, content strategy, and they're fantastic. And then I've got one kind of younger, sharp guy, kind of green behind the ears, but hungry, kind of young guy out of college that I have that's US based that helps. So it's a pretty small but mighty team that kind of operates things. My involvement is I'm still heavily involved in the product decisions. I think that's just so important that, I don't want to give somebody some like formula and hey, go find products. So I'm still pretty heavily involved in shaping what
Right.
that looks like and deciding what we go after and what we don't. I'm very heavily involved in the keyword analysis and optimization.
Mm.
Again, I think it's a critical skill if you want to dominate Amazon to
Hmm.
kind of be good at that. So I'm pretty involved in that. And then I'll help like scope the experiment. So it's kind of like, hey, this month, these are the 3 things I want to test and try. Let's give
Hmm.
this a go, kind of set the parameters, and then the team kind of gets set loose and runs with it.
Hmm.
So I hope that helps.
No, that was great. So, all right. So let's talk a little bit about you're focusing your time really kind of on what products you're selling and the keywords you're using, which I'm assuming the products you're selling, it probably has a lot to do with the keywords, right?
100%. Yep.
Okay. Now,
Yep.
what are some tips you would have for someone, whether they're starting out or they're saying, I'm looking for my next product or next brand or whatever the case is? So, what's kind of that process that's going through Adam's mind deciding what the next product is?
Yeah, and I mean, there's a ton of different ways to do this, obviously, and there's not a
Sure.
right or wrong way. I think my theme that I try to carry on through, regardless of whatever the method is or the tool is that I'm using for deciding on a product, is just kind of zigging when others are zagging a little
Uh
bit.
huh.
Like you definitely want to tap into existing markets that there's known opportunity. So
Hmm.
I don't like to go create markets. It's just, especially on Amazon, it's a little bit difficult. But I also don't like to do the exact same approach that others do. So like I'll use a couple examples, right? And a couple of different approaches. Using the traditional Amazon research methods, whether you're using Black Box or whatever your software tool of choice
Hmm.
is, where you're like, hey, I'm going to plug in criteria.
Right.
There's existing methodologies out there that are like, well, hey, you want to have something that fits in a shoebox. You want
Right.
to have something that's, $18 to $25 that has no more than 100 reviews.
Right.
Like there's these kind of set like structures, but the problem is that while that, if you land on the right opportunity, the mechanics are fantastic, ROI is great, like things are great. Problem is there's 50,000 other people doing that. So I
Hmm.
think, using that lens on like tools like that, I like to do things that are like opposite of that. So
Hmm.
I want like a
Mm.
big thing that you might even need to like 3PL. I want
Right.
something that's a pain in the ass to ship. I want something that's $200 that
Uh huh.
is difficult for people that are looking for a $5,000 product investment to be able to sustain.
Hmm.
I don't even mind going into 500,000 plus review categories if I feel like I can really tackle a unique opportunity within that and take people out. So I
Okay.
would just say I've got a bit of a contrarian approach when it comes to using some of the more traditional tools. So I would just say that as a starting point. And then another method that I really like, and this is kind of the genesis of these 2 most recent brands, which are very much like passion and niche specific brands.
Okay.
One of which I'm a customer for, and then one that I brought a partner on. He's basically like the archetype of what that customer is thinking about, not even about Amazon yet. Like, don't
Uh
use
huh.
any research tools. Just think about somebody that's in that segment. What do they do? What do they care about? And tap into that journey on the product journeys that they go through, as a customer for that niche. So I don't know, like use gardening, like, I don't know, like stupid example, right? But like if you're
Sure,
a
it works.
gardener, like if you become like passionate about gardening, like
Mm-hmm.
what do you do from like the month one that you start getting into gardening to when you're like hardcore enthusiast 7 years in? And there's
Mm.
a product journey that you go through
Mm-hmm.
in that kind of customer experience. And basically what I do is I'll just validate those different touch points on Amazon and just say, hey, I know that the customer's on this journey. I know it's passion based, so there's an emotion attached to it. It's a part of their identity. They care about it. They want to buy
Right.
products like this. And then I validate them, like, is there like volume on Amazon? Can I win? How would I differentiate? And when there's a match there, I find like that's the secret sauce, because
Okay.
it's almost starting at the end and working your way back versus
Mm-hmm.
starting at the start and figuring out where to go. So those are two different approaches that I'll use, like some that are more traditional, but with a very distinct kind of lens to it. And then
Mm-hmm.
the other one is a little bit more focusing on the customer and working your way back from that.
Got it. Okay. So let's say you're getting into that gardening niche. And so I like that
Yep.
philosophy. I've never heard anyone describe it that way, but that makes sense of there's a journey. So starter to 7 years down the road enthusiast. Which are you starting with to get your foot in the door in that market?
So typically I like to have the lowest common denominator as the first product. And oftentimes it doesn't even need to be the most wildly profitable or successful product.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of want to have something that is the ante to that kind of passion niche, right? So I don't know what it is in gardening. I maybe should have picked an example I know, but I don't know. Let's say you get like a gardening bag to like take all of your plants to like pot stuff, like a potter plant.
Sure.
Like
Sure.
start at the thing that almost everybody buys, whether they're experienced or whether they're brand new, because you
Okay.
get the top of the funnel. You'll get the most transactions. It's easier to build your audience when you kind of start a little bit wide, and then you can get more specialized from that.
Mm-hmm.
And typically the higher margin opportunities exist a little bit further down when you get kind of deeper into a niche and deeper into a passion. But I do like to start a little bit more broad, as like, what's the ante that folks get when they first enter something, and then you kind of capture audience, and then that snowball helps you launch additional products down the line that are maybe more focused.
Got it. So, all right. So, um, what are you doing to launch that product, that garden bag?
Yeah. So interesting. So I think like as a starter, it helps to be the customer, frankly, or know people that are the customer.
Okay.
I always like to start with a pool of people, and it doesn't need to be a ton. I think sometimes people think like you need these grandiose,
Right.
10,000 person Instagram followings. Like literally, if you had 20 people or 10 even people that like you knew that were gardeners, like you posted on your Facebook and you're like, hey, I know this is crazy, guys, but I'm launching a new Amazon business. I want to know anybody out there, whether it's their mom or their coworker or their friend. Do you know anybody into gardening? Because I'd love to get some product in their hands to get feedback.
Okay.
And like, so I start with a pool of like super friendlies that aren't, because Amazon doesn't like it when your friends or close family
Okay.
buy
I know what
stuff
you
and
mean.
review stuff.
Uh-huh.
But like,
Yep.
call it
Yep.
second degree friendlies is what I like to call
Okay.
them. So you start with a pool of 10 to 20 of those, and you can literally start with your own network. You could go into a gardening Facebook group. You
Uh-huh.
could go into there's probably gardening forums. Who knows, right? There
Sure.
might be a gardening podcast where you ping a podcaster. But
Uh-huh.
literally, the initial goal is to get it in the hands of enthusiasts, to get real feedback on the product, number one,
Mm-hmm.
but also kind of weaponize them to help your launch and help trigger to
Mm.
Amazon that this is a legit new ace and this is a legit new brand.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of wave one for me is those super friendlies that you can have a conversation almost like you and I are, to like
Right.
talk about what you're trying to do with your new product.
Right.
And then another wave of that is basically using external traffic, whether it be Facebook ads or Instagram ads or influencers. There's all
Mm-hmm.
kinds of ways to tap into people to basically direct them at heavily discounted product for that first month to kind of spike
Okay.
the algorithm for Amazon, let them
Sure.
know that you're legit. Also accumulate feedback for the brand and maybe even reviews for the brand. And then from that point on, it's just kind of, regular maintenance mode Amazon stuff that you kind of
Mm-hmm.
get at a launch. So I start like that. And then, you do 4 to 6 products a year. And each time you accumulate another 40 people that love your stuff. And then,
Uh-huh.
you're maybe selling 1,000 units a month to random people around the US. And some of those people like your brand. And before you know it, you've got, 5 to 15,000 people that love what you're doing. And it just becomes easy after that. So.
Gotcha. Okay. So you're developing kind of like a VIP launch list, but you're doing it kind of
Yep.
old world style, not just keywords and PPC and all this. You're literally hitting the pavement, so to speak, from a virtual
100%.
sense.
Yep.
In finding like actual people. I like the strategy of not the people that are, your friends, because that is a little gray hat when you start having your mom
Sure.
buy your product. But if they don't truly know you and it's just someone you kind of heard of, I guess I could see that is working. And to your point, like you don't need a 10,000 person following. So now you're starting to launch and you're starting to put some external traffic out there. So this is a debate I've heard quite a bit with like Facebook ads. Are you sending them straight to the listing page, or are you sending to like some sort of bridge page in the middle to capture an email, or at least have them get a coupon code or something?
So I've done both. I think
Mhm.
a couple important things for me that, because it's become very, a lot of people have done it. Amazon knows what people are
Mm,
doing, and it's
right,
become this kind of cesspool of kind of low quality rebate buyers that are kind of participating in this. So I think in some ways, what worked 12 months ago, the gig is kind of up.
right,
So more so than like mechanisms on where the funnel goes and where people click through, we focus a lot on trying to get the kind of cleanest audience into the funnel. That's probably
hmm,
more important than where you direct them or
right.
whether you're using intermediate pages. I mean, we do all that too, but my thing right now is to try to find the cleanest audience possible. So
Mm,
again, it's zigging when other people are zagging, right? So
right.
like recent stuff that we started doing is like using Reddit as an example. So like everyone's running Facebook ads to ManyChat flows.
Uh huh.
We started going into like, so in the gardening example, go into like gardening subreddits and run ads to gardening subreddits and then funnel them into ManyChat. They've never seen a
Oh, okay.
Facebook ad on a rebate product before. They're like, holy crap, what is this?
Uh huh.
And Amazon also doesn't, notice them as somebody that buys 40 products and reviews 40 products 5 stars a month either. So we've used a lot of tricks like that. YouTube ads is another one. Tapping even into Instagram influencers and leveraging micro influencers, like people with a couple thousand followers, and just saying, hey, I'm going to give you this free product. I want to get your feedback on it. If you could do a story post, that'd be awesome.
Hmm.
And you build up 50 of those versus finding 50 random people on Facebook. That can help too. So we focus a little bit more on audience kind of honing. We also do things like we don't do 100% rebates. I know that that's kind of popular, but even if you make it like 75% is our favorite, like it requires some skin in the game. Like even if you
Hmm.
have to pay $10 for something, you're not going to buy a $10 gardening bag if you don't somewhat care about a gardening bag, right? So we kind of differentiate by the offer a little bit as well.
Hmm.
But yeah, so I mean, ManyChat's our main thing, and that's how we typically funnel things. But we've also done intermediate pages where we kick them off to our own site and then to Amazon. We've done direct stuff. So we've done it all, and frankly, it all works. But the important thing for us right now is getting the right audience in that funnel at launch, especially for rebates.
Gotcha. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about rebates, because I know this is
Cool.
a kind of a gray topic here. So there's the black and white part, I think. So we've probably all bought an Amazon product at some point, where you have an insert that says, please email us a image of your 5-star review and we will send you $20 to your PayPal account. Please also include your PayPal account, or something to that effect. I mean, that's
Yeah.
blatantly black and white because you're putting criteria in there. Now, when you're not necessarily asking for criteria for something like that, I know rebates kind of start getting into this gray area. Tell me your feeling and your um, whether amount of risk or perceived risk, because I know there's lots of debates out there, and I don't really talk about that much on this channel, but I love this discussion though.
Yeah, cool. So I started doing this like pretty early days, about, I don't know, it's maybe 20 months ago or so. So I think it really started to become in vogue around last summer. But
Hmm.
so I was probably 8 months before that. So like in that era, it was kind of like the Wild West. It was just,
Sure.
it was easy. And frankly, I have actually never asked for like quid pro quo, give a, 5-star review, then I'll give you the rebate.
Uh-huh.
But that's definitely been the popular approach that a lot of folks have used. I don't like it for a lot of reasons. Number one, um, if you ever do get caught with your hand in the Amazon cookie jar, like you
Sure.
are compromising your account. Like there's no plausible deniability when you're doing that.
Uh-huh.
Hey, you only get this rebate if you get a 5-star review.
Right.
Um, so that's number one. Number two, I just think it's tacky. I just
Sure.
like it's not how I want to operate a business. It's just I don't mind kind of going to the edge a little bit, but that for me kind of crosses the line. So I've never done that. I think it's been pretty clear that Amazon doesn't mind rebates necessarily.
Okay.
And I've heard through like some account reps that I work with at Amazon, as well as just through others that have higher level conversations with folks at Amazon. They don't necessarily dislike rebates. I think where it becomes an issue is when you are requesting reviews from people that you've given rebates to. That's where you start to enter the grayer territory.
Sure.
Number one, it's against federal law to do. So I think you're kind of dancing that a little bit. And number two, you kind of definitely get into that gray territory with Amazon. So what we kind of do, honestly, is like, naturally, if you're targeting the right audiences, if you're finding enthusiasts, if you're giving them a really good deal on a really awesome product, and you're genuine, you're a human being, you're talking about how you're building a business, guess what? You don't actually need to ask for reviews. They're going to come. So we kind of use a soft sell approach by making sure that we focus on the right audiences. We definitely use rebates to, especially in that first month of launch, to kind of get that algorithm going, getting the indexing going, and kind of letting Amazon know, like, hey, this is an ASIN that matters for this series of keywords. We 100% do that. But the motivation on reviews is not a quid pro quo, and it's not explicit. But guess what? When you do things right, they'll naturally come anyway.
Right.
And with things like the Amazon review button, like, you don't need to explicitly ask for it. So we operate, I don't know that you would, if I ever got called to task, if it would be 100% clean, but I definitely think that there's plausible deniability, and there's an ethical way with which we go about it. And I think from an Amazon standpoint, reading both letter of the law as well as their philosophy on reviews and kind of rebates, I think we do it right, and it works for kind of all parties involved. And again, it's short term, right? Like, this is not something that we're doing and this is another thing that's important about rebates. People think like rebates are the strategy, like that is your business. Rebates are a tool for about 10 days in a product's 7-year life, right? For us, at least. So, we look at it as a component of the overall strategy, not the strategy. So hope that helps.
Yeah, that makes sense, because, to your point, there's the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. Amazon tends to go more with the spirit on things, because they leave their letter of the law oftentimes intentionally gray, because they don't want to back themselves too much into a corner. So they want to at least
100%.
be able to navigate things. So I like what you're saying there, because you're not even saying like the rebate is even depending on a 5-star review or even leaving a review on itself. No. You're just saying, buy my product, I'll give you a rebate, which I don't know that we see this as much as we used to, but like I remember as a kid, like, or even a young adult going to the store, and there'd be like all these like rebate things on the wall where you could take, a piece of paper and send your receipt in and get a rebate, for whatever product. And God knows how much money I never got, because I never actually turned in the rebate, but I bought stuff because of the rebate. So it's basically it sounds like kind of in a virtual sense, that's what you're talking about here.
100%. Yeah. And I think, the way I like to think about it is like, you can win in the short term artificially by having none of the fundamentals right, but these like hacky things, right? Like these, and there's going to be a new one in 6 months. There'll be a new one in 2 years. Like, there's always a new like little hack or way to approach it. You can win for a small period of time with just the hack. How we look at the hack is a accelerant on an existing platform and strategy that has all the fundamentals right. So again, well thought out product, differentiated, aligned with what the customer's passion, emotion, needs are, packaged well, thoughtfully positioned, thoughtfully messaged, professionally branded, deeply optimized for Amazon. And then you sprinkle in a little bit of rebate, and it just helps everything flourish that would probably otherwise naturally flourish anyway. But it's not the be all end all. And if you took that away, the brand, the product, and the strategy still kind of can stand on its own. So I think that's how I look at it. Like, you got to get your fundamentals right, get all the other things that you should be doing anyway, and then use these things as an accelerant to help propel your success with a launch is how we look at it. So.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, is that, as everyone talks about the flywheel, is a chicken and egg problem.
100%.
In order to get sales, you need clicks and impressions. In order to get clicks and impressions, you got to have sales. So it's like, how do you do it? So you're bringing it in from the outside. You're doing it in a way that's not It's not quid pro quo, and that's where you can get
Yeah.
yourself into trouble. Because I always like to look at it as when I'm trying to decide, okay, am I doing the right thing here or not? It's if I was having to explain to Jeff Bezos or one of his,
Yep.
you know, executives what I'm doing, can I see myself actually saying it with a straight face and telling them the truth about it and feeling good about it? Or is it one of those things where I'm like trying to hide my face and hope they don't see
Yep.
me? So
Yep.
that's kind of the way I like to look at things. So yeah, I like the way you're talking about there, just getting people in and kind of going from there. So one of the things you talked about earlier was you mentioned clean traffic, and I want to kind of come back to that because going
Sure.
back to kind of where people start getting into the grayer side of things, when they start going into group, targeting people who like rebates or targeting people who like cheap stuff and stuff like that. Now all of a sudden it's this kind of incestuous, for lack of a better word, group of people who
Yeah.
buy stuff just to get rebates and 100% rebates. And so they're probably doing this with other Amazon products too, right?
Yep. 100%.
And Amazon knows who these people are. So all of a sudden you're sending all these tainted people to these same tainted people who probably were on another listing that just got suspended. And all of a sudden you're sending them to yours, having no idea what their history is with Amazon. So, but when you go for the enthusiasts, they're not the ones that are looking for every deal that are unrelated products. They're just, oh, it's gardening. So yeah, I need a bag. You,
Yeah.
you, you'll,
100%.
you'll give me a big discount on that? That sounds good. Yeah, I see what you mean
Yeah,
there.
exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So clean audience is key. Yeah. And I think like, Amazon is a computer, right? Like there's not
Mm-hmm.
some person in Seattle sitting in some room, like figuring out who they're going to like target that's doing rebates. It's like, it's a computer algorithm that's honing stuff. So you just got to realize if you're doing 100% rebates in the targeting people in the way with Facebook ads and interests that everybody else targets,
Mm-hmm.
with crappy products that don't stand on their own, that are unnatural kind of from an algorithmic standpoint, it's going to get found out. And so,
Mm-hmm.
go about it in a way that's unique and honest. And that's what's worked for us. So.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
So, what other tips do you have for someone who's maybe looking to scale or take their business to the next level?
Yeah, this is one that like I've definitely kind of pieced together some through School of Hard Knocks and just kind of some just looking at the mathematics of it. But there's absolutely kind of some financial mechanics that are critical when you scale. Um, it's not overly difficult, frankly, to kind of launch a couple products that do, 5, 10, $15,000 a month and kind of like roll another one out in 3 months and roll another
Mm-hmm.
one out. Like it's totally doable.
Mm-hmm.
When you start doing 10 plus products a year, or when you start getting into the 7-figure plus range, I think the dirty little secret of Amazon is like cash can kill you. Like you can
Oh yeah.
become, no doubt about it, a victim of your own success.
Yes.
And to be able to manage that, the financial mechanics become super critical.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you think about scaling your business, number one, I won't get into all the hardcore formulas, but like ROI is critically important.
Right.
If it takes you another 2 months to find a product that is 45% gross margin versus 32% gross margin, like do it, because
Mm.
that 32% gross margin product, even if it's successful, could be really painful to manage and
Mm-hmm.
kind of grow your brand. So focusing on ROI, focusing on margin, and then other things that a lot of people don't think about, like cash is such king that I'm much more interested in negotiating with vendors on payment terms than I am on price. So like lose a little bit on price, pay 5% more from your vendor, give them that win
Mm-hmm.
if you can get a 60-day net payment terms. Because if you
Mm.
got 60-day net payment terms, it takes 30 days to produce a product. It's on the water for 30 days. It's 10 days to check into Amazon.
Right.
And then it takes you 3 months to sell through that product. That's a pretty big financial burden to kind of
Oh
absorb
yeah.
cash on. If you can take that, that payment, which you'd have to pay before it goes on a boat, and make it 60 days after, you're basically funding your inventory with sales and net income that come in. So we look a lot at like ROI dynamics as well as payment structures and terms, because those are the things that when you get into 7 figures that just you need to have, unless you have an immense amount of money, which a lot of people don't coming into this, like
Mm-hmm.
that's where the snowball effect can really, really be powerful. So.
Gotcha. So one of your strategies is try to get terms from the from the supplier, like net 60. How do you negotiate that? I know a lot of people would like to know that one.
Yeah, for sure. So I think again, success typically gives you a lot more leverage. So I'll just say that, like when you succeed with the product on Amazon at volume, you're ordering with regularity, which
Hmm.
factories love. They want to have regular orders. They want to have big volume orders. So like the more volume, the more consistent, is really good for their business as well in terms of planning their operations.
Hmm.
And then also you just become a more significant part of their business. So I found the place that I'm
Hmm.
able to negotiate. You got to come from a point of leverage. So you've got to be, doing regular orders. You've got to have a high volume orders, and you've got to be a decent percentage of their business.
Mm.
So I find that that's the most, like, a lot of people are like, well, when do you wait? Do you wait like 4 orders? Do you wait till you're working with them for 6 months? It's less about time. It's
Hmm.
more about, are you ordering big orders with regularity that are significant amount of their business? So part of
Hmm.
that's working with, like, I would call it medium-sized factories. So if you work with these massive factories, you're going to be a rounding error on their overall operation. So it's
Right.
difficult. So that's part of it. The other part is I always like to, like, I go to China a couple times a year. And I think that's huge for
Hmm.
me. So it's obviously difficult in the COVID environment, but I'm drinking beers with the factory owner,
Right.
and, we're doing gambes and having a fun time and getting to know each other's families and having that.
Mm.
And you can call on that personal bond and relationship and that deeper level, like, hey, we're in this together. Like, we want to do this together for 10 years. Like, I want to see your business succeed and us grow together. Like, here's how you can help me do that. And here's, by you giving me 60-day terms, I can scale and order the next product. I can do another variation of this product. Like, you are
Mm.
helping me unlock an ability to give you more business.
Hmm.
And so you've got to position in a point that makes sense for the factory and kind of brings Zen value as well. So that's how I've done it typically.
Got it. So one thing I like there is you're talking about, the factory, getting to know them and having a relationship with them as people. And then also
Yep.
the customers and the launch, it's also getting to know people. So kind of on both sides of the equation, because sometimes we get so caught up in, this online world, it's all just passive income and it's just,
Yep.
we just set it and forget it. But the reality is every click, every impression is a human being. Every order we make with
100%.
this supplier, it's a human being, an owner who, their hopes and dreams, just like your hopes and dreams as a
Yep.
e-commerce store owner or in your business, their hopes and dreams are in theirs. The people that show up to work every day, that your factory reps, they want to do a good job and be able to be recognized by their bosses. I mean, just like everyone. So you got to look in terms of where the other people are coming from. What other kind of mindset type advice would you give to folks?
Yeah. I'll give you a couple good ones that have helped me at least. The first one that I really like kind of coming into this is, like, I think people like mysticize success. Like, it's
Mm.
this like mystical thing that, like, special people get. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and I would just like start with the question of, like, why not you? So I always kind of have
Mm.
that. Like, when I think something's too big for me, or I think it's unrealistic, I found when I've pondered that question myself, like, well,
Hmm.
why not? Like, why not in general, and why not you?
Hmm.
That demystifies success and has kind of helped me realize what my potential is. I think we
Hmm.
put these invisible mental barriers on ourselves by thinking and kind of putting ourselves in a box. So that's one that helps. The other one that I like, and, so I'm a cyclist, mountain biker. That's kind of one of my things I really like
Right.
doing. And there's a saying. Can I cuss on this thing, or should I use
I'll
a?
probably edit it out, but go for
Okay,
it.
okay. So there's a term in cycling called HTFU, which basically means harden the F up, right?
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
it's like, if you're out like cycling and it starts raining, like, no, you don't go home, like, suck it up, like, you're gonna ride
Hmm.
in the rain. Or you're tired on a 2-hour climb and you're exhausted and you're seeing stars, like, HTFU. It's like this mantra that's in cycling.
Okay.
I think you got to kind of check yourself a little bit too. Like, you can't play the victim. Like,
Uh-huh.
you got to own it. Like, stuff doesn't happen to you. It's like, it's just part of what you've got to go through as an entrepreneur. So I think part of it is, like, don't let yourself seep into that victim mindset. Like,
Mm.
Amazon's doing this to me, or Facebook's doing that to
Right.
me, or Trump did this thing with the tariff, or my shipping company messed this up. Like, no, like, stuff happens. You just got to suck it up and, like, and kind of muster your way through it. So that's another mentality I think that's critically important too, is you just got to, like, realize that you've got to learn to suffer. You've got to learn to kind of piece through adversity. I think a lot of people fantasize about what success and what the happy side is. And I think you need to do that. I think it's
Hmm.
very important to like feel what it would be like to kind of be where you want to be. I think it's equally important to fantasize about the adversity, which sounds a little bit weird, but like think about like how you're going to react when things don't go right. Think
Hmm.
about what's going to happen when your first inspection gets failed. Think about what
Mm,
happens when your launch doesn't go the way you want. Think about what
right.
it's going to feel like when you have an 80% A cost, not a 20% like you envision. Like, and then think about what your reaction to that's going to be. I think it's equally important to hone the adversity and the suffer muscle
Hmm.
as it is to hone the success muscle. Because I think both are really critical to come together and kind of take you through the journey that you're going to need to go through and the tribulations that you're going to need to go through. So those are three nuggets that have helped me anyway.
No, I love it because, there's so much talk about, hey, look at my Lamborghini, look
Totally.
at my success. Oh, here I am on the beach with my laptop lifestyle, all this. But in the reality is they're suffering, tribulations, inability to sleep, if that's the word, inability
Yep.
to sleep at night, all these different things that, they're going through too. But sometimes, people hide that. So very, very good advice there. Now, if somebody wanted to check out more of what Adam had to say around the world, where would they go?
Well, and it's funny you brought up the Lamborghini and kind of screenshots and stuff. And I think, as I got into this journey and learned about Amazon, like that's what you get exposed to, right? When you do
Mhm.
YouTube searches and whatever, you kind of encounter that world because it's just a part of the business that we're in. And it's always frustrated me a little bit because like, and I've obviously uncovered a lot more real people like you in my journey, which has been really fun. But I actually literally just today posted my first YouTube video. The YouTube channel is Adam Heist. So kind of Heist Labs is kind of the initiative I'm looking at, kind of sharing my story on how I built my businesses. Um, I'm not trying to sell anything, which I think is kind of unique. Like I'm literally doing this almost in a cathartic way because I think it's kind of
Okay.
fun to share. There's probably a little bit of ego too. Like, hey, this is kind of what I've done. So there's probably a little bit of that, but it's kind of cathartic. I kind of use the analogy of like a bank robber, right? Like if you've ever, bank robbers never get to tell their story because
Mm,
like they pulled off this crazy heist and they get to rob a
hmm.
bank, but they never get to tell what happened. So this channel for me is literally about like totally transparent, unchained. I don't give my brands out, but I give away basically everything else, which is just like here's how I do it. Like here's how I do
Hmm.
launches. Here's how I look at products. Here's how I optimize keywords. Here's how I think about brands. Here's the mentality I use. So that's kind of what I'm going to do over the next year is post a video a week, kind of diving into my journey on kind of what I've found to be successful and even some things that I've found to kind of be challenging and post a video a week. So Adam Heist is the YouTube channel that you can check me out at. And then Heist Labs is the Instagram. And I have like, probably at the time of this recording, I'll probably have like 10 followers on each or maybe less. So it'd be cool if you join for the journey and help me get to 100.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely recommend
Yeah.
people check out both the Instagram and the YouTube Adam Heist and Heist Labs. Because the thing of it is you're going to find people that are telling you just regurgitated stories of what they saw in a blog post or a course they took, and then there's the real people that are giving you actionable advice that's proven in the real world to work. And Adam is one of these people. I mean, I can vouch for him. We're in a mastermind together. He's not just someone I saw in a forum and said, hey, let's chat. I know Adam. I can vouch for him. So this guy's legit. And so if he's giving you advice and stuff in a YouTube channel, you'd be crazy not to take it. So definitely head over to Adam Heist on YouTube. And at least the graphic I saw earlier was like you had kind of like a green zipper over your mouth.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
definitely recommend people go check that out. And Adam, it's been a blast chatting with you, and we'll catch up again. And I recommend
totally.
everyone go follow your stuff.
Kev, appreciate it, man. It's been super fun. And likewise, I get a ton of value out of you too. And this is what life's all about. And this is what this journey's all about, right? Is like syncing up with people that have similar value systems and similar goals in life. And it's just, this is what makes life fun. So I appreciate you bringing me on, man. It's been a fun chat.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Cool. See ya.
All right. Well, I hope you found that interview there with Adam to be helpful. So Adam has got a lot of great knowledge, a lot of great information he's sharing, and I sincerely recommend you checking out his YouTube channel. Adam Heist is the name of his channel. So thank you so much for being a listener. I'm going to wish you the best in your e-commerce journey. Take care.